special guest with me. His name is Bob Frank, and of course my ex-name used to be something like that. So I call Bob my cousin. I've interviewed him a few times over the years on my radio shows. He's the author of Third Eye Trilogy, which is a set of books across 6 continents, fantastic stuff, pretty Da Vinci Code-ish, and also the co-author of his latest book, Cloud to Cloud, and the president of Near-Death Experience America. And this is what I want to talk to Bob about today, because my intention of this show is to give you faith that there's something far greater than you and I. Welcome to the show, Bob. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here, and let's see if we can connect with your listeners out there.
Yes. Now you're in Panama, where you have a home there and one in the States at the moment.
Yep, that's it. So right now I'm down in Latin America. So hopefully the signal will be good. It's typically pretty good. So hope we get a good signal for your viewers and we don't break up. But yeah, it's the tropics here and what you'd expect with lots of jungle around.
Now, the thing I find really amusing is you came from that real engineering background. And so to move into this path over a period of 40, 50 years into this spiritual path where you also do past life regressions for people, you've got huge amounts of data, you've worked with university departments about what actually goes on when somebody passes over. And the beautiful thing is you've collected enough data to have some very strong insight into what happens. So I want to dive right into the science and the data, Bob, and tell us about, I remember a couple of years ago, you was telling me that Brazil, I think in Arizona University in the psychology department, had actually made contact with what they are known as the other side. Tell us about that.
Yeah, there were there's some good conferences around. I went to some of those conferences, particularly when I was with this International Association of Near-Death Studies, and because I was on their board 6 years, president for 2 years, so I got connected into that entire community. And there was several universities that were doing studies with how do we connect with those who are no longer here. They've passed off into this other realm. I call it, that's my term, is the other realm, because we don't exactly know what it is. We know it's there. Quantum physics knows it's there. They know the global consciousness, the consciousness of us is over there. So these universities were doing research on how do we connect with those people using literally technology. And the one in University of Arizona got some big funding out of some folks who are very interested in the topic, and they have what they call the soul phone. And it is in essence, I don't want to go into all the grimy little details, but it's about the entities being our souls. You could call us our souls. I call it the energy entities that are inside of us, resonant in what I call a carbon unit. We're in these carbon units while we're incarnated in this physical realm. But when the body dies, that soul or that energy entity is back in that other realm, they're experimenting with communicating with those other entities, similar with the ways that mediums and psychics will make those similar kinds of connections. But they're doing it with technology. And it's really about photons. And if you look at a lot of the metaphysical areas, they talk about the light, they're talking about light workers, and photons are light. And what they're finding is that the entities there in the communication process are emitting photons, and photons are light. So that's the instrumentation component that they're using to measure the communication experiments that they're doing with those entities. So it's really, really pretty interesting.
Yeah. And so what if they noticed? Are they getting actual yes and no's communication? What are they getting? It is almost a binary yes or no kind of a thing, because of how many photons they can actually pick up in the dialogue that they're having with these entities that are on the other side. So it's not unlike when I was doing quite a few of past life regressions. There were times when people couldn't speak, but there were different techniques in hypnosis that you can use where you use digits and fingers. And you can basically get yes, no, I don't know, or I don't know how to answer by asking the questions
and the consciousness that's inside of the human body when they're in this tremendously deep hypnotic state, this induced state, they can sit there and say yes as a one. Their finger will flip and digit. So it's a technique used by psychologists and psychiatrists when they put people into these induced states. So it's very similar to that of just binary digits of yes and no.
Yeah.
So because sometimes you don't get all the benefits of people being able to communicate with what they're hearing or picking up or what they're getting in their mind.
Yeah. Okay. And so we know that there is another realm because, you know, as you know, you've done some work with me and I'm into quantum physics, and certainly quantum healing stuff I do with clients now is just phenomenal. And I believe that, you know, we are a soul in a physical body, and we came through, we sat up there with our soul council and we said, okay, guys, this is what I wanted to evolve to in this life. We come through, and when that umbilical cord was cut, we forgot why we came. And I often say to people, you know, when we get triggered by our environment, our people, a lot of people don't get on with their families, they're freaking out about coronavirus and all of these things. And there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. And I think that this is all to either push us back home to ourselves and self-love so we can connect back in and feel safe in our skin, or push us away from it. So is there any alignment there, Bob, with the data that you've collected about why we're here?
Yeah, what I see is, and a lot of it, the data comes from the near-death experiences from the years that I worked with the International Association of Near-Death Studies. Those folks that die, they pass to the other side, and then they return. For whatever reason, they die, they're gone. And then they return. What's interesting, it surpasses all religions, it crosses all religions, all belief systems. The experiences are very, very similar. Many, many, many common threads across all of these. And as you mentioned, that this sort of cord is cut when you enter the body. That's what these folks that went over and came back, they call it piercing the veil. They've pierced the veil because there's the blinders that came down. So we don't know. We don't know what we have done in the past. We don't know what the term that many researchers call it is the soul contract, the agreement that each of us have agreed to before we incarnated. There were sort of agreements that were made. This is what you need to accomplish in this particular life. And if you don't, then you're going to get to do it again until you understand the principles of greed, or the principles of spite or hatred or evil type things or money. I just want money and money. All these things are things they're challenges that challenge us in this physical state. That in that other realm, you can never be challenged with any of that because there is no need, there is no want in that other realm. There's no hunger, there's no cold, there's no hot, there's nothing there. Everything is peace, everything. And as the near-death experiences call it love, everything is love, love, love. I don't see it as love. I see love is not big enough. There's an English word that's bigger than love. That's because they say the same thing. The feelings that we get when we're there before we come back is indescribable in the human language. You cannot describe the feelings that you get there. So the common word that's used is love. I think the word is really compassion, because compassion is really much bigger than love. It's compassion for other humans, compassion for animals, compassion for insects. There's a compassion. You don't love them. I hate snakes down here, and I kill them with a machete, but I have a little conversation with them before I whack them because it says, look, you're too close to my house, and you're a viper, and this is not good. So it's not love. I don't love them, but I have compassion for them. I said, hey, next time, go up on the mountain over there. There's a great mountain, lots of things to get up there. Don't come around my house. So I think compassion is a much greater word than love that these near-death experiences come back. But many of them, when they come back, that veil has been lifted. And they can see the entities that are there. They communicate with entities. the entities communicate with them because it's been opened up.
Okay,
And,
so let's
Yeah.
talk about this realm and to help people have faith. So therefore, would I be correct in saying, which I help people with every day in my business, is you're here to overcome that resistance, and whatever we resist the most is the answer. That's your work. That's where you're supposed to do your work, because I look at a lot of people I coach, and I remember being at this 7-day retreat a few years ago, and I've never told you this, Bob, this will blow your mind. And my parents had both passed at that stage, and I was doing this deep meditative process, and because I can sort of have access to that realm and things like that. And my mother and father came in and sat either side of me. I felt their presence, and I had came from a tremendous amount of violence and a horrific childhood, and that I was working through some trauma, and they came and said to me as clear as a bell, and I've even seen it in print since then, and I've heard it so many times since then, and they said, it wasn't done to you, it was done for you so you could do the good work.
Yes. I would absolutely agree with you in that whole concept. We're here to do something in this particular life. And that's the one of the biggest challenges we have is just trying to figure out what in the heck am I supposed to be doing for myself? And you'll get help from the other entities that are around you. As in your particular case, the loved ones that were with you in this life, in other lives, in past lives, they're with you. They're quite often referred to as a soul family, soul group. You can call them soul mates, but not in the lovey-dovey soulmate sense. They're souls that cluster and incarnate together or don't, and they help each other. So you're always getting help, and it's about helping you figure out what it is that you're supposed to be doing so that you can, I'll use the term roughly, check it off the list that, okay, I was challenged with this thing. I was given a challenge with this evil disease and a debilitating, crippling disease, and I had to survive with it. When I was 12 years old, I was blinded, and I had to figure out, how do I live my life as fullest as I can in that state? That was my challenge, perhaps. So once you figure it out, then you can begin to work in the direction of, okay, when I'm all done, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I've done what I felt that I needed to do in this particular life, and not worry about so many of the other things that are around. Just kind of focus on the things that you need to do for yourself.
Yeah. And they often say that, the bigger the trauma, the higher the mastery, the bigger the challenges, because it's quite interesting that you get some little souls that come through children and they pass very quickly, and the adults or the parents are left devastated. So their journey might be, how are they going to actually overcome, or their journey could be anything. But as you say, the bigger, like that's 100% correct in my understanding too. The bigger the resistance you have, the more you can actually get out of it when you unpack it and, come home to yourself. So if you're here to overcome codependency or your narcissistic behavior, or you're here to overcome, as you say, greed, guilt, all of these things. And the great thing about quantum healing and stuff that I do, I can actually go back through that ancestral line and clean up all of that stuff so people can come home to themselves a lot quicker. So what's your understanding of let's look at like the coronavirus. So many people are freaking out, they're scared they're going to die. We have this huge world of fear. I believe all disasters and illnesses like that are to actually help people evolve through to a higher level of consciousness. Just to understand simply, we've discussed this before too, Bob, we all have an end date. If you're going to get coronavirus, you're going to get it, right? That's exactly
where I sit. If you're going to get it, you're going to get it. If you're going to die from it, you're going to die from it. Or if you don't die from it, you're going to die from something else in that general kind of a time frame, whether it be corona or something else. So, and this, I get a lot of this from the near-death experiencers, people who absolutely should have been dead. And they came back. There were many of the cases are called the spontaneous healing, meaning the doctors have absolutely no idea whatsoever why that human should be alive when their bodies have been totally decimated. Their lymphatic cancers, and they're deaf, and they're just a skinny little bones in the thing, and they're in a coma for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then suddenly, pow, they're out of it. And they convey the message when they come back is that it wasn't my time. And I told them that body's no good. And they said, no, you have to go back. And there's very interesting with some of the near-death experiences, they get in arguments because they don't want to come back to life. They say, it's too nice here. It hurts down there. That body's been sick with cancer for 2 years. I don't want to go back to that. No, you got to go back. I can't go back. It's dead. No, it's going to be fine. You go back and your body's going to be fine. And they recover spontaneously.
I know. It's amazing. Like that amazing neurosurgeon, Ibn Alexandra, he was in a 7-day deep coma. His brain was gone. All his mates in the neuroscience sort of field came to try and help him. And they were just about to turn the machine off. And he sat up and said, all is well.
Yes.
And he was miraculously healed. I mean, he said,
I saw my sister. I did this. I did this. And
amazing proof of heaven.
There's another really, really interesting one. If some of your viewers want to pick up a book by Dr. Mary Neal, she's a spine surgeon in the Western U.S., similar kind of a thing. And this kind of relates to many different things. She had a young son, 5 years old, and she's talking to the son. And this is in one of her first books. And here she's a surgeon. She's really smart person. And the son tells her, he says, no, I'm not going to go to college, because they're talking about going to school and high school and colleges. No, I'm not going to go to college because I'm going to be dead before I go to college. And she's like, whoa, what are you talking about? There's a 4 or 5-year-old kid saying, I'm going to be dead before I go to college. So how can you say that? He says, well, you and I agreed to that. He said, what do you mean we agreed to that? It says, you and I agreed to that before. You were going to be the mommy, and I'm going to be the son, and then I'm going to grow, and then I'm going to die, and then you're going to feel the pain. What? Of course, they hushed the whole thing up. Her and her husband just squashed the whole thing. Then she had a near-death experience when her son was about 14 years old, and she should have been dead. She were kayaking down in South America, and they're with a group of other friends, her husband and her and a bunch of other friends, and her canoe got stuck under a log under the bottom of a waterfall, and she drowned under the water for 30 minutes. And then her legs broke. And after she had about 3 arguments with these entities that she's seeing, you have to go back. No, I'm not going back. You have to go back. Why do I have to go back? Because you haven't fulfilled the agreement you had with your son.
Great. Let people read it.
So they sent her back. So she came back, and then her son was 19 years old, and bam, car accident, gone. It all played out. Just as was predicted by your child. Who the veil, and what you'll find in the University of Virginia has a tremendous amount of studies, thousands of case studies on reincarnation that they did mostly on young children, 3 to 4 to 5 years old. That veil that comes down, we talked at the beginning of the show about, it closes and we lose contact with the other realm. It's still open until we are basically 5, 6, 7 years old. Depends upon your family, depends upon your living environment, how quickly everybody closes it down. There's no little friends over there. No, they're not there. You're not talking to the dead grandma. No, grandma's been dead. You're not talking. But these children do this, and so the veil's very thin. So they're communicating out to this other realm that gets shut off, maybe 5, 6, 7 years old, the veil comes completely down and we lose contact until we pass back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that point you made earlier is verified with data. I believe it's verified with empirical data.
Yeah.
That shows that veil's very thin as a young child.
Yeah.
And it's just like the Dr. Mary Neal case. Very good example of, then you begin to question, is time real?
Yeah,
which is what the quantum physics.
I want to also go back to the intention of giving people faith. Tell me a little bit about the data of suicide.
That's a very interesting phenomenon with suicide. And I look at it from the perspective of many of the near-death experiencers who commit suicide and they failed for whatever reason, and they come back. I think, I don't know of any cases where they committed suicide again and succeeded, because they have such a different view of the world around them.
Because we have an end date. So if they're going to fail, they're going to fail. If they're going to succeed, they're going to succeed, right?
That could be it. And I think there's some other phenomena I got in my research in the reincarnation, past life regression area, is that when people do commit suicide and they succeed, they will come back, and whatever the challenge was to their soul, their energy entity in that life, that caused them to go to the edge to commit suicide. When they reincarnate, they will be given that same challenge again on steroids. It will be harder, because the objective is in their incarnation is, you failed to meet your objective by committing suicide. So it's not a matter of suicide is a good, bad. You committed suicide, that means you failed at your objective.
Yeah.
So you're going to reincarnate. Now, the Hindu sort of religion has adopted the karma concept of, hey, if you do this, you're going to get it worse yourself.
Yeah.
Similar to that same line, but when you come back, you're going to get it worse than it was before.
Yeah.
So I think with suicides, if you can look at that concept of if you commit suicide and you succeed, whatever it was that was bugging you, that pushed you to that edge, your next incarnation, you're going to get it worse than you had it before. Yeah. The challenge will be harder.
Okay. And so
don't do it.
So let's talk about, divine intelligence. So we know there is a concept of some form of divine intelligence. I mean, how does a pineapple, a sunflower, crop circles? I mean, there's just so much incredible power in this place called Earth. Often people, because there's so much misalignment with the soul purpose and the soul journey, it's causing a tremendous amount of suffering, fear, things like that. So I always suggest to people, look, if you just do the work, this is a school for the soul. We are here for one purpose, not to get pissed and out of it and have fun and go and, do all of these things. We're here to actually evolve, to find inner peace, self-love, joy, creativity. We're here to play in the highest possible frequency of life. So if somebody's suffering with addiction, I suffered from addiction for years, and I just kept doing the work, healing the trauma, coming home to myself and recognizing, well, my nervous system is actually controlling my frequency, my brain. So I need to go in there energetically and do that quantum work so that I can really evolve. And I tell you, Bob, there is nothing more peaceful and happy than being able to feel safe in your skin no matter where you are.
Yes.
And that is, and I knew.
Whatever challenge you have, if you're comfortable with yourself, then your life is going to be just fine. And it doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have. It doesn't matter how much love you have, how much you don't have. We need to be at peace with ourselves And you need to really, once you get to that level of comfort, all is well.
Yeah, because this can be really, you can call planet Earth, you can either have an experience of heaven or hell here, really.
Right.
It's up to you, depending on your frequency. So we know where energy, we know when the soul leaves the body, that consciousness, whatever you want to call it, goes to another realm. I mean, if I've been doing a whole lot of work back to back with clients, and I've been doing lots of EFT tapping or really high consciousness work, my frequency is basically bordering on those two radio stations. I'm either here or there. And I've walked outside and I've just seen spirit walk straight in front of me. I've seen on my balcony them walk straight past me. I've seen angels in front of me. I remember one day we were doing a past life regression recording, and you said, oh my God, look at the back of your screen. And there was this massive angel, and we got to take a photo of it. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. So people can have faith, and it's not about religion.
That's exactly it. It's, and if you really, I have to openly admit, definitionally, I am a definitional atheist.
I know.
I am a definitional atheist, but you have to look at the definition of the words. But from a, you want to call it a spiritual sense, looking at data, because that's my engineering background. That's where I came from, that very left brain thinking, analyzing area, to look at what reality really is. We are energy entities existing in a carbon unit, in a carbon suit, for the time that we live in this particular life. We're given objectives, things to do. We're connected. From a quantum physics standpoint, you and I and every animal and bird and insect that's out there, we are all interconnected. The energy that we have is all interconnected. And so when you see things and entities and stuff that's around, that's just a connection that you happen to be, the way I see it, you happen to be on the right frequency at the right time. And now you can see it because you're tuned in. You're actually tuned in. And that's where this latest cloud to cloud novel that I published with another author, she is really connected. I mean, she's really connected. So that's how we linked up. And it was about connecting, you want to call it the Google data cloud, where all the data is on our phones. And we're connecting that with the ethereal cloud. Some call it the Akashic records. Some call it the data of the universe. They call it whatever. We connected the two. And we had a lot of fun when we put this thing, because now you can Google and get the data that's out there. So it caused a lot of trauma and challenges because of this interconnectivity. They're all about the interconnection. And we kept pushing. When I talked about the frequency, we kept pushing. It all starts out in this military area, about the military guys getting on frequency because they're out on the battlefield, get on the right frequency and all this. And then the one lead character migrated into this ethereal world of getting on the right frequency.
Okay, great. Okay. I'm gonna put a link below in the description for people to get that book, because and you've sent it to me and I still haven't even had a moment to even look at it. I can't wait. You said I'm like the character Hannah or something, so I'm really looking forward to reading it. And look, Bob, you've really done it justice today, because I think with so much uncertainty in the world, it is a magical place to be when you actually have that genuine ability to come home to yourself. And it's just my wish for everybody to open up their hearts, to just learn the ethics of kindness and being generous to your fellow man, and letting go of all this corporate bullshit and all this idea of hunger and money and control and all of this stuff, and just being living as an emotional being, an energetic being, and taking care of that part of you so that you can have the far more joy moments. Is that sum it up?
Exactly. And with this, because we're in this little bit of a crisis time right now with, oh my gosh, Corona, and we got all the viruses, and then there's the wars, and now we got China, and we got Russia, and we got this, and we got everybody's all the, it's about, as the Latinos say, hey, tranquilo, tranquilo. Just step it down, relax a little bit, just chill out, and take it as it goes. Take it as it goes. If it's something's bad going to happen to you, it's going to happen to you. If it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. So it's about being at peace with yourself. I think you hit it right on the spot. Being at peace with yourself. When you're at peace with yourself, hey, the rest of it is just going to come in stride.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here, Bob, and we'll chat again soon. And yeah, as I say, I'll put a link below for Bob's book. And just much love to you, and we'll speak again soon.
Great. Okay, thank you very much.